Hello and welcome to Photoshop F. Photoshop F is going to be all about photo retouching. Sometimes we take photos with our cameras, and even though our cameras are really great that we have for Yearbook, we still have maybe some editing and touch-ups that need to be done. So in this lesson, what I'm going to show you how to do is sharpen a photo. So we would use this if we have an image that might be a little blurry. Technically, I require all of our pictures to get sharpened, just because the sharper the image is, the more clear it is, the better it looks. So the way that we do this is we're going to go to Classroom and get down our Sharpen F1, and we're just going to download this and then open it in Photoshop. Now, I want you to listen really carefully as I explain this, because in order for you to see the difference, we are going to duplicate this layer. But when you do this on a normal photo, you do not need to do this. You don't have to do this duplicate step. However, I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to show you what you should really do on each of your photos. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is just to show you the difference and the whole point of why we do this sharpen. So first things first, let's duplicate our background layer. Right click and hit duplicate, do a Control J and duplicate, and then I'm just going to call this my sharpen layer so that I know that this is the one that I'm going to sharpen. So all I'm doing is putting one on top of the other, and then I'm going to apply the sharpen to this layer, and then we can compare the two. So when we need to sharpen, what we do is we go to Filter, we go down to Sharpen, and then we choose Smart Sharpen. Now, I tell my kids that you can just use the default. The beautiful thing about the Smart Sharpen is that looks at your entire photo and then says, okay, this is how much we should sharpen it. Because if you do it by yourself, sometimes you can go a little overboard. So let's use the Smart Sharpen. All we need to do is click OK, because we're going to use all of the presets. And then what I want you to do is take your zoom tool, and I just want you to zoom in on the runner's face, like enough to where the head is right in the middle of your screen. And then I want you to hide your sharpen layer. And then I want you to show it. It's very subtle. You can see it's not like it's going to go bam in your face. So if we weren't this zoomed in and we hadn't done this duplicate layer, you'd be like, Mrs. Steelgis, this was pointless. I can't tell any difference when you sharpen. But you can, because if you hide it, you can see that it's blurry compared to if we sharpen it. So as I said, I encourage you to sharpen every single image, because this option looks better than this option. Okay, so for the sake of practice, let's do this. Let's close this Photoshop file, say no, and hopefully you still have this document open, and we'll just go again, open Adobe Photoshop, and we'll open it back up. So let's pretend you found the photo you want to use, you downloaded it from our process photos, you're opening it in Photoshop, and as I said, the first thing you should do is sharpen your photo. You do not need to duplicate the layer. That was just to show you the difference between an unsharped photo and a sharped one. So once you have it in here, all you need to do is go to Filter, Sharpen, Smart Sharpen, and go ahead and then click OK. And like I said, if we hadn't done the duplicated layers, you wouldn't be able to tell that anything happened. But it did. It sharpened that image up based on what Photoshop believed needed to happen based on the image you opened. So like I said, I tell all my students to do that for any photo you use. It is a requirement once we get to the point of working on our yearbook spreads, but we'll talk more about that when we get to that. However, get into the habit of doing it now so that it's not something that you have to remember to do when we get to making our book. So that is sharpening. Very important, very subtle. It's not one of those in your face things, but very important to do for all of our photos. So we're not going to use this graphic anymore. We only used it for Sharpen, so you can actually just close it and know you do not have to save.